Hi friends, wellness expert here, Laura Zam, and author of the book, The Pleasure Plan. Today we're going to be talking about how to enjoy your life more using everyday pleasure. Stay tuned. Okay, we are back and we are talking about how to enjoy our lives more. Oh, don't we want to enjoy our lives more? Doesn't everybody want to get as much joy as possible out of our lives? I know I do. In some of these videos, I've talked about the fact that my mother was a war survivor and she really had a very terrible childhood. Her family, immediate family, was actually killed. And my mother was tortured. I mean, really bad stuff, bad stuff. But I grew up with a mom who embraced every moment of her life in contrast to that. And I've tried to incorporate that into my life, and I want to pass that on to you. That whatever you've been through or not been through, it doesn't matter. Every moment is waiting for you to enjoy it. Regardless of circumstances. Okay? So, how do we enjoy our lives more? Well, we're going to use a pleasure technique. This is part 4, actually, in a 4-part series talking about a technique I developed. It's called pleasure layering. So I'm going to teach you the technique. Look at the other videos as well, because they also incorporate instruction around it and different nuance. But I'll teach it to you right here, and then I want to tell you how to incorporate it into your life so that you can enjoy your life more. And by the way, enjoying our lives more really means enjoying our days more, because our lives are made up of, guess what? Days, right? So, anyway, let us move on to pleasure layering. Pleasure layering has 4 steps, and it is something that we can incorporate into our lives in a very, very simple way, because we are going to build on a pleasure, an essential pleasure that we are already engaging in. It's not something that we've got to add into our lives in a complicated or time-consuming way. It's just a small expansion of something that already exists in your life. All right? So, in pleasure layering, what we do is we start with a base pleasure, what I call pleasure number 1. And pleasure number 1, my suggestion, is something that is already going on for you. So, great choices would be morning coffee or morning tea. Pleasure number 1 could be some stretches that you're doing in the morning that you do already, not something that you're going to try for the first time, but something you already do. It could be going out for a walk, right? Some kind of a walk during the day. It could be a treat, could be a cookie at 4 o'clock or a piece of fruit at 4 o'clock p.m., right? That could be something that is already built into your day that is yummy. So you want to just choose from the array of pleasure that I hope is already in your day. Choose one of these pleasures, okay? Let's say it's a cup of coffee or tea in the morning. You're going to, once you've chosen that, that's step 1. Step 2 is to savor this. So just spend a little extra time and remove distractions. That means you're not going to be scrolling through your phone or watching a morning show or something while you're doing this, okay? And if that is your habit, that's okay. You're just going to do this pleasure layering for a couple of minutes. So, right? So you can go back to the television or the news on your phone, what have you. All right? But for now, just take your base pleasure, your pleasure number 1. Step 2 is going to be just taking extra time to savor this. Really sip taste, smell. If you're stretching, right, move around, see what feels great. What other part of the body needs a stretch? If you're walking, what do you see? What's around you? What is around you? So, we want to see if we can just expand the moment, basically. And I'll tell you a secret. At the heart of pleasure layering is a sensation and experience of loving this moment, right? So we want to create a bit of a container. Pleasure is kind of a portal through which we can get to this feeling of like, oh, this is nice. I'm loving it right now. Even if your circumstances are hard, we can still take these moments, find these moments of like right here, right now. I feel good. I feel good. So that is essentially what pleasure layering is. Now, you can take that initial pleasure and you can add some additional pleasures. Maybe you add visual, or you add a candle, right? Maybe you add a yummy kind of texture that you feel, right? You can add another stimulation of a different sense. But that's optional. It's like bonus, basically, especially for these purposes. What we want to do is just to find that first pleasure and an ability to expand it a bit, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to practice that initially, right? Just practice that maybe once a day. Just practice that once a day. Then, once we have that and we've trained our brain a bit, our brain and our body to just sink in every time we have that tea or that coffee, every time we take the walk, we ought to start to automatically slow down a bit and savor the moment. Once that feels a little more like something that is becoming second nature on the way, then we can start to think about ways that we might incorporate experiences like this throughout our day. So, a very easy way to do this is to take breaks, but to take intentional breaks and maybe even scheduled breaks throughout the day. You may already have this. You may have your lunch hour, right? And maybe you have the time when you go and get your coffee or apple at 4 p.m. or something of that nature. It could be a little more ad hoc, that you just take a break whenever you feel like you need one. But you know what? It's much better to not need the break, to take the break when we still have a bit of juice in us. Otherwise, we're really depleted already, and then we're behind. We're trying to rejuvenate rather than keeping our energy in a good place, keeping that sense of flow going and that sense of general well-being. So scheduled breaks are great. I personally use a Pomodoro system, which is taking a break every 25 minutes. And then every 25 minutes, I take a break. I take a 5-minute break. I love Pomodoro. I swear by it because it's, and I'll have the link below, because the Pomodoro is, it is something that it's developed by somebody named Francisco Cirillo. I'll put a link below. It's not my technique. Some people feel like there's no way they'd be productive taking a break every 25 minutes, but I feel like it's the opposite for the reason that I just cited, that I don't burn myself out during the day. But anyway, whether you take a break every 25 minutes or a break every hour or 2 hours, if you could just schedule those, it's helpful. And what you're going to do on your break is you're going to do pleasure layering. You're going to do pleasure layering. So let's say your pleasure layering is that cup of coffee in the morning, that special cup. When you do this later in the day during your break, maybe it's not coffee, could be, but maybe just a beverage, even a glass of water or a sip from your water bottle. If we've already practiced this a little bit, that we are going to savor the sip, expanding that beverage moment, then we can do that with any beverage on our break. And if you could do this for several breaks, so maybe you do it in the morning and then you do it at 10 a.m. and then you do it again during your lunch hour, you're going to start to build in these pockets of pleasure throughout a stressful day when you're not actually enjoying yourself, because stress is not enjoyable. So throughout a day when you are, just feeling not having a good time, you build in a little bit of the antidote, a little bit of the opposite, where you're just here in your body and you are enjoying the moment, even loving the moment. You go back into it. And maybe there's a residue. Over time, if we build in enough of these pleasure pockets, these little breaks, it can start to bleed into the rest of your day, so that maybe you have more of an ability to ground yourself, for instance, get out of your head. That's video 3 in this 4-part series. Get out of your head, perhaps. And maybe even from this centered place, make a decision about something that you need to do to change the situation so it's not so stressful. And if you can't change the situation, you can just maybe breathe and get yourself to a better place. Let go of some of that, some of that stress and worry, and just get on with your work. We are looking to enjoy our days more, not in a global way, not initially. We're trying to just build in these little moments, or I should say little minutes, 2 minutes perhaps, of joy. But we scatter them throughout the day. And you can do as many of these as you want. As many as you want. My personal practice every 25 minutes using the Pomodoro is I lie on the floor. I work from home, so it is easier to do that. If you work in an office, maybe lying on the floor is not the thing to do. But like I said, it could be just a sip of something. It could also just be just a stretch in your chair. The important thing is that you have the same activity that you do in each of these, during each of these breaks. Just do the same activity and then just expand inside of that. Expand that moment and perhaps add additional pleasures. That's bonus. But you're just training your brain, training your body, as I said, to associate that initial pleasure with some kind of relaxation, some kind of feeling good. Some kind of feeling good. And that is it. I will talk about this in the future some more, but that's it for this video on how to enjoy your life more using everyday pleasure, and specifically pleasure layering. Please put any comments or questions in the chat, and I hope that you'll subscribe to this channel, Zam on Pleasure, where we talk about all different aspects of pleasure. All right, I will see you soon, my friends. Bye.